Welcome to today's SeafoodNews.com video, sponsored by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute.
Good morning. It's Friday, February 1st. I want to give a wrap-up of the highly successful NFI Global Seafood Market Conference, which just concluded in Santa Monica yesterday. NFI has had real success with this conference, which is combining the annual NFI meeting with a global seafood market conference, which is open to anybody in the industry. Attendance at this conference this year was up about 33% from last year, and next winter, next January, the conference will be held in Miami. In terms of species and the focus on products and markets, a couple of highlights from the meeting were on shrimp, where we're really looking at a year of very heightened risk to supply flows, mainly due to the severity of the EMS disease outbreak in Thailand and Vietnam. A couple of other market issues included the impending certification of Russian Alaska pollock, which is very much opposed by the Alaskan industry. There's some concern that if this goes through, the Russians might be producing more single frozen product, and that's going to disrupt the flow of H&G product to China. For scallops, one of the key things from the market discussion was that next year we'll see a marked shift to smaller size scallops as the decline in U.S. landings is replaced by imports, but the imports from China will be at a smaller size. Because this is the annual NFI meeting, a lot of the major issues facing the industry were discussed as well, particularly at the concluding NFI board meeting. None of these issues are new. For example, the FDA has asked NFI to step forward and do the research to prove that the CO, or tasteless smoke treatment of tuna, is generally recognized as safe or is GRAS certified. This is something that the FDA originally approved almost 13 years ago, but now seems to be under new question. Also on tuna, there's a tariff question coming up on whether Customs is looking at whether treatment of tuna with carbon monoxide changes the classification of the product to a prepared or preserved product, in which case it may be subject to a different tariff. If that's the case, there's a substantial cost increase that would occur to the users of imported fresh and frozen tuna, and it also could potentially be a disaster in terms of all the other products that are treated with various processing aids. The other things that were discussed were obviously the countervailing duty case, which we've covered in great detail elsewhere. And one of the exciting things was the new Seafood Education and Research Foundation. This is a new foundation which has been set up with $500,000 of seed money from some major participating companies. The new director is Linda Cornish, and her focus is going to be on making a broad coalition of people concerned with public health who recognize that improving the seafood diet of U.S. consumers is one of the key public health steps that we can take. All in all, it was an extremely successful meeting, and for those of you who may not be familiar with this conference, I would seriously urge you to consider the conference in Miami next January, where attendance is expected to swell again. In Santa Monica, California, this is John Sackton.
Today's SeafoodNews.com video was brought to you by the Alaska Seafood Marketing Institute. Alaska has been protecting wild and sustainable seafood for generations and adheres to the most recognized and internationally accepted set of guidelines written by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. For recipes and additional information, visit wildalaskaflavor.com.